Today we're taking a look at the Milwaukee Bucks vs Brooklyn Nets match, which is happening on Monday, June 7, 2021, and giving you my betting tips and predictions in general on this game. Welcome back to High Stakes. Let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos. And if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. 5 plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 270 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours and hours of your time searching the internet for some fake betting predictions and losing your money because of it. Join High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks and advices instantly. The Milwaukee Bucks look like they may have caught a break when James Harden went out with a hamstring injury less than 1 minute into Game 1. Harden did not return, but the Bucks could not take advantage of his absence as they shot terribly from the field. Let's put this into perspective. The Bucks are the 3rd best shooting team in the NBA and the 4th best three-point shooting team in the NBA. Tucker was a surprise starter, with Milwaukee starting both of its presumed centers together. Tucker's inclusion initially worked like a charm. He scored a few buckets early, including a corner three-pointer, and it was his usual pesky self in defense. But Brooklyn adjusted quickly and sagged more and more off Tucker as the game went on, allowing his defender to help aggressively and play 5-on-4 in defense. Tucker finished a team worst -13 on the night even after his positive early start. Milwaukee went much deeper into its bench than most expected. Jeff Teague played 14 minutes, which appeared to be approximately 14 minutes too many, and Bobby Portis was quickly targeted defensively in his 17 minutes. The other two off the Bucks bench, Bryn Forbes and Pat Connaughton, saw 22 and 20 minutes. Now let's look at their numbers in Game 1. They shot 44% from the floor, which is slightly below their season average. But they shot just 20.5% from three-point range, making just 6 of 30. That can't happen. Giannis Antetokounmpo had a great game with 34 points and 11 rebounds, but he didn't get much help. Chris Middleton only had 13 points and was a terrible 6 for 23 from the floor. Brook Lopez added 19 points while Drew Holiday chipped in with 17 points. Still, it's way too early to give up on Milwaukee. The Bucks almost certainly won't miss so many shots again, and the Nets aren't likely to get outlier nights from so many role players. Both teams saw a letdown after the Harden injury. Now the Bucks have had time to adjust accordingly, and remember, the Bucks swept the Nets in early May in 2 games without Harden. Saturday's series opener with the Bucks posting a collective 62 points in the first 12 minutes of action. The Nets are averaging 30.3 first-quarter points in the playoffs with a pace metric of 102.33 and an offensive rating of 119.0 in those segments. Milwaukee is right there alongside Brooklyn, putting up 29.6 first-quarter points per game with a pace rating of 105.6, fueling that early output. The Game 2 1Q total has dipped to 53.5 points, which shouldn't take much extra effort from either side to top. My first betting advice for that game is to pick first quarter over 53.5 points, -120. The Brooklyn Nets have to be absolutely thrilled with their Game 1 performance. They lost James Harden in the opening minute and still beat the Bucks 115-107. It wasn't even as close as that, as the Bucks scored some late buckets to make it close. The difference was, the Nets made their threes, training 15 of 40, shooting at a 37% clip. With no Harden, the pace is up in these games, since Harden tends to play more slowly and deliberately. In the 2 May Bucks games, the pace came out at 102.7, and both of these teams played their fastest pace of the postseason in Game 1. The Bucks won both second and fourth quarters in those May contests. Milwaukee won the 2 games by 3 and 6, not exactly overwhelming at home. but the Nets shot 44% on threes between the two games and lost anyway. In Game 1 on Saturday, the Nets got a shockingly great game from Blake Griffin. He got the start and had 18 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists, looking lively on both ends and hitting 4 of 5 threes. That performance is quite unlikely to repeat itself. Mike James surprisingly played over 30 minutes off the bench and had a big night himself with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 dimes. Nick Claxton was also a big positive off the bench with his energy and defense. Kevin Durant led the way with 29 points and 10 rebounds, while Kyrie Irving had 25 points and 8 assists. But the big lift came from Blake Griffin, who turned back the clock and scored 18 points with 14 rebounds. Griffin made 4 threes. Joe Harris had 19 points and made 5 threes. As for Harden, he is listed as out for Monday. In Game 1 on Saturday, the Nets got a shockingly great game from Blake Griffin. He got the start and had 18 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists, looking lively on both ends and hitting 4 of 5 threes. That performance is quite unlikely to repeat itself. Mike James surprisingly played over 30 minutes off the bench and had a big night himself with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 dimes. Nick Claxton was also a big positive off the bench with his energy and defense. My second betting advice for that game is to pick Bucks on the money line plus 100. Since Harden's injury happened within the first minute of Game 1, the Nets' 115-107 victory was definitely earned and displayed their ability to absorb such hits and keep coming forward. But to say they got the Bucks' best shot would be a lie. The Milwaukee Bucks will look to bounce back and even up the series after a 115-107 loss to the Nets in Game 1 on Saturday. Giannis Antetokounmpo led the way with 34 points, coming on an efficient 16 of 24 shooting with a pair of threes, 11 rebounds and 4 assists for the double-double, while Brook Lopez had 19 points on 8 of 11 shooting. Milwaukee did seem rusty in the series opener, enjoying 6 days off between its quarterfinal sweep of the Miami Heat and Saturday's contest. The Bucks shot just 45% from the field, most notably 6 of 30 from beyond the arc, and turned the ball over 14 times Saturday, this coming from the best defense in the league, which averaged 120 points on nearly 48% shooting this season. Brooklyn's defense has gotten more credit than it deserves this postseason. The Nets took advantage of a disjointed Boston playbook in the opening games of their first-round set, but then showed their true color with the Celtics boasting an offensive rating of 124.6 through the final 3 games after posting an advanced metric of just 103.1 in the first 2 contests. The Brooklyn Nets will be out to take a 2-0 series lead after their Game 1 win on Saturday. Kevin Durant led the Nets with 29 points along with 10 rebounds for the double-double. Kyrie Irving added 25 points with a team-high 8 assists, and Blake Griffin had 18 points with a team-high 14 rebounds for a double-double of his own. Joe Harris chipped in 19 points on an efficient 7 of 11 shooting with 5 threes, and Mike James added 12 points with 7 rebounds to cap off the scoring in double figures for Brooklyn in the victory. Kevin Durant leads the Nets with 32 PPG and 7.8 RPG so far in the postseason, while Kyrie Irving is averaging 24.8 PPG and James Harden is averaging 23.2 PPG and a team-high 8.8 APG, but his status is up in the air after a hamstring injury in the win. Joe Harris is also contributing 14.3 PPG for the Nets so far this postseason. As a team, Brooklyn is averaging 125.6 PPG on 50.6% shooting from the field, 45.1% from 3 and 91.5% from the foul line, while allowing 115 PPG on 45% shooting from the field and 32.2% from 3 in their last 5 games. As for Harden, his biggest contribution to Brooklyn was his playmaking, averaging almost 11 assists in the first round. That frees up Kyrie Irving from point guard duties, allowing him to be more aggressive with the basketball in isolation. Hamstring injuries aren't easy to overcome and drastically impact quickness and mobility. So it's no surprise the Nets are holding out Harden for Game 2. My third betting advice for that game is to pick over 233.5, minus 110. Good luck to all of you. That's it for this video. Stay tuned and stay safe for the next betting tips and advice.